Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuouki Demon of the Fleeting Blossom, along Sanosuke Harada's route. And we just encountered our body double on the street. Are we long-lost siblings or something? Don't know if there's going to be any answers forthcoming at the moment, but let's see where this scene takes us. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story.
No. They're practically identical. Dress the kid up like a girl and you wouldn't be able to tell them apart.
The girl, Kaoru, was looking straight at me, as if she hadn't heard a word Okita had said. I had to say something, but what? Perhaps she saw through my confusion, or perhaps it was something else. I wish to thank you properly, but I'm afraid that you've caught me in the middle of an important errand, which I must attend to. Please forgive my rudeness. She bowed quickly to Okita. I hope I will be able to repay you soon, Okita of the Shinsengumi. And with that, the girl who called herself Kaoru disappeared into the crowds of Kyoto, although the unease her presence had created in me remained. With a mischievous grin, Heisuke dug a playful elbow into Okita's ribs.
Hey, looks like she's got the hots for you, Soji.
Oh, Heisuke, is that really what you think? You've got a long way to go before you're at Sano's level.
What? Hey, what the hell's that supposed to mean?
Their back and forth continued, but my mind was elsewhere. Last night's rain had left a number of puddles on the road, and when I looked into them, I saw a strange girl who looked just like me. Kaoru, huh? Wind caught the surface of the puddle, sending a flurry of ripples across it. My face quirked into a small smile, but the face in the puddle didn't smile back.
Come on, Chizuru, let's get moving.
All right, I'm coming. Wasting no more time on a puddle, I turned and ran toward Heisuke and Okita, already on their way back to the headquarters. Strange days. The temple was much larger than the compound in Mibu, as advertised. The entire Shinsengumi could gather in the common room with space to spare. As Kondo spoke, his voice echoed grandly throughout the hall.
By now, I imagine you have all heard that Iemochi Tokugawa, the 14th shogun of the Tokugawa shogunate, will be visiting our city of Kyoto. The Shinsengumi have been asked to guard him at the passes through the city on the way to Nijo Castle.
The Shinsengumi guard the shogun? Almost immediately, the room exploded in cheers.
Huh. Too hard for them to ignore us after Ikeda and Hamaguri, huh? All that work's finally paying off. Yes, you could say the fate of the country will be resting on our swords.
He let out a snort of laughter as he spoke, but there was something in what he said that put me on edge. Then again, it wasn't as if I'd been going to guard the shogun.
Parade guards, eh? If only Sanan were still with us. We have truly lost a valuable ally.
They never told Ito the truth about Sanan. In fact, the entire incident surrounding his transformation had been covered up. Only a few of the men of the Shinsengumi knew the truth. Perhaps Kondo felt guilty for deceiving him, because I saw a brief flicker of bitterness cross his face before he spoke.
Well, at any rate, things are going to be rather hectic here very soon, so we ought to get our assignments hashed out. To begin with, I'd like Toshi, Soji, and myself to... Sorry, Kondo, but you think maybe Soji can sit this one out. I think he's getting sick. What? Soji, is that true? Are you alright? The demon's just being a mother hen, sir. I think I'm fine.
You're not fine, you're dying.
Don't give me that crap. You just coughed up a lung earlier. Fine. I think someone's being a little overprotective, though.
His smile had turned a little bitter as he spoke, but he looked fine. Perhaps Hijikata was just being overprotective. I didn't have much time to dwell on it, however, before. Heisuke?
Kondo, I'm not feeling so great either.
You too, Heisuke. This is our time to shine. I was hoping to have all of us there to greet the shogun.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, no. Your health comes first. Always. I'm sure you'll have another chance. I'll just have to make sure you get to do something spectacular.
He did his best to simply wave it off, but it was easy to see his genuine concern for Okita and Heisuke. Once he had finished inspecting the rest of the soldiers and sending them off to their assignments, Hijikata turned to me. I wonder what's wrong with Heisuke. I mean, I know it's a deal with Soji, but I don't know about Heisuke.
Alright, what are you going to do?
I'm going to go wherever Harada is.
Don't give me that. I'm asking if you're coming with us or not.
I can go too?
Of course. We certainly don't mind. After all, you're practically one of us. If you want, I'd love to have you come.
Could I? Could I really go? I hesitated for a moment confused, and Okita and Heisuke laughed.
You don't need to worry about yourself, kid. Nobody's gonna be stupid enough to try and attack the Shogun.
Why don't you go? I'd be surprised if anyone did so much as draw a sword.
It didn't seem quite fair to me that I wasn't even a soldier and I could go while they were stuck back at the compound. Still, I felt drained lately, with the lack of information we'd been able to uncover about my father. Perhaps this would be just the thing to cheer me up. I'll go. Perhaps the excitement of the occasion was infectious, as I felt the steel in my spine that hadn't been there before. If so, however, it appeared Hijikata was immune.
Calm down. You're just carrying messages. Think you can handle that?
Well, I've done that pretty well so far, I think. It won't be the first time. Right, left, right, left. My steps echoed softly through the night. Ow, my legs are starting to cramp up. I decided it was best to take a short break and stop to look up at the castle. In the early days of the Tokugawa shogunate, Nijo Castle had been a place for the shogun to stay on his way to the capital. It had been a while since the shogun had actually stayed in it, though. We'd met the shogun on the road and begun our escort about 30 minutes earlier, and had arrived at the castle relatively recently. By now, I imagined, Kondo, Nagakura, Inoue, and the men were greeting the officials and the other important people in the shogun's retinue. Well, I've got a job to do. More specifically, it was my job to tell all the soldiers when to change shifts, and generally carry messages back and forth. A glorified errand girl, in other words. This means I'm not totally useless, right? Time to get back to work then. Even a short walk around Nijo Castle was enough to see several blue jackets, all of them on guard, none of them nervous or anxious. Well, of course, after all, the castle's really well guarded. Only an idiot would try to... A sudden chill ran down the length of my spine. I froze. I knew the feeling. 2 feet of cold steel waiting to find their way into you. Eyes shining with a lust for blood and violence. I never hoped to find myself accustomed to such a horrible thing, but in the time I'd begun living with the Shinsengumi, I had felt it more than once. I suppose I would have to call what I felt radiating from the shadows bloodlust. My eyes were drawn up toward the roof, where no person would ever think to look. A large wall cast a shadow, shielding a section of the roof from the moonlight. There they stood. Oh, you! Oh yes, my pretty enemies.
So, you noticed us. Not too slow then.
They looked very distinctive, unlike any soldiers I'd ever seen before, but the 3 sets of piercing eyes scattered my thoughts and made it difficult for me to think. I had recognized them now. I had to put names to the faces. Chikage Kazuma, Kyuju Amagiri, Kyo Shiranui. They were connected somehow to both the Satsuma and the Choshu, and they made an effort to impede the Shinsengumi at Ikeda and again at Hamaguri. Whoever they were, they did not belong at the shogun's castle. Why are you here?
Hey, little girl. You ought to be asking yourself how we got here, not why. It was pretty easy, you know. A little human wall doesn't mean crap to a demon. We are here for a specific purpose. That purpose is you, Chizuru Yukimura. We are here for you.
I don't understand. A demon? What do you mean? And why are you here for... No, you must be joking.
How can you ask what a demon is? Perhaps you're the one joking here. After all, you are one, just like us.
He stepped forward, the shadows following him like a cloak. When Amagiri spoke, it was calm and peaceful, as if it were trying to reason with a frightened child.
Do your injuries heal quickly? Too quickly, perhaps?
What?
Do you heal from injuries faster than any human could?
Well, I couldn't bring myself to answer that, so I pursed my lips and remained silent instead. Shiranoi's eyes narrowed.
What the hell? Maybe it'll be quicker if we just give her a demonstration. Enough, Shiranoi. I don't care if she admits it or not. We're here for a reason, and that hasn't changed.
His eyes dropped to the kodachi at my waist.
Her family name is a demon's, and she carries the demon of the East kodachi. That is evidence enough.
My family name? What was wrong with Yukimura? I didn't understand what he was saying, but that didn't stop the cold sweat I could feel inching down my spine. I felt almost as though the darkness itself was coming for me.
Then again, it isn't as though we need your permission to kidnap you. Female demons are rare. Now come with me.
The hand stretched out from the darkness, pale and grasping, like the tentacle of some hideous subterranean monster. Then, out of nowhere, a blade flickered through the night. So I'm a demon, huh?
Whoa there, pal. Trying to pick up on chicks in a back alley. That's not creepy at all. You again. The culture and the nose of a dog, I see. One could say the same of you.
Sword and spear glinting in the moonlight, Kazuma stepped back, momentarily stymied. Harada! Saito! My legs felt suddenly weak, as if the now-shattered tension had been the only thing keeping me standing. I teetered backward, my balance momentarily lost. A strong, sinewy hand caught me and pulled me back, its grip hard as steel.
Stay back.
Hijikata! One hand guided me around behind him, even as the other drew his sword.
I figured you were here for the Shogun's head. What do you want from a kid?
Ah, look at that. You're so pretty, Hijikata. Too bad I'm saving you for last. You and Kazuma here. These are my boys. Yeah, look how pretty they are.
Oh, I have little interest in you or the Shogun at the moment. The matter at hand concerns only we demons. Demons?
His eyes narrowed.
Haven't seen these punks since Hamaguri.
As Harada drew his spear back to a ready position, I saw Shiranoi's hand move toward the gun on his hip.
True, though I feel little at this reunion.
Saito's hand tightened around his sword, and Amagiri's feet shifted into a stronger stance. Tension hung in the air so thick I could scarcely breathe. They were a powder keg ready to explode. Even the slightest movement could be enough to set them off. As slow as I could, I moved my trembling hand toward the hilt of my kodachi. I'd nearly reached it when a voice whispered in my ear.
Don't worry about the commander and the captains.
Yamazaki, when did you... He'd appeared as silently and invisibly as if he had been a shadow himself. Well, yeah, he's a ninja, that's his job.
I've been ordered to return you to headquarters.
Thank you. Then, you're telling me to run away? Well, yeah, I am the objective, so it would be best to keep me from them. It was true that, if I remained, it was unlikely I could actually be of help to anyone. I want to remain here, even though it's a bad idea. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay here. Yamazaki's brow twitched momentarily in surprise.
You don't understand. What do you hope to accomplish by remaining here?
I know that staying here might not be the smartest idea. And I know that I probably won't be able to help. In fact, I might even get in the way. But I have to. I'm sorry. I have to stay by my beloved Harada's side, and I have to find out what the deal is with me being a demon. They'd called me a demon and told me to come with them. I still don't know what they meant by that, and I need to know the truth.
You have a reason to stay then, and conviction. I can admire that. Unfortunately, I have my orders. Just as you must remain true to what you believe is right, so must I.
Are you gonna knock me out and carry me out of here? What? Yamazaki reached for my arm, ready to take me with him by force. His hand nearly reached me when I felt a bolt of lightning race up my spine. I spun around to see Shiranui, his hand wrapped tightly around the grip of his pistol, and his eyes aflame with the heat of a blacksmith's forge.
Hold on there, buddy. The princess says she wants to stay, so she stays. You gotta learn when to let a girl go. Gah.
With his last word, Shiranui launched himself towards us, just as Harada leapt to intercept him.
There are times when quick decisions are important, but Shiranui's short temper can be problematic.
Perhaps, but you seem uninterested in stopping him. Saito and Amagiri had maneuvered nearly into striking distance of one another. Oh, are those two, arch-enemies?
Damn it! What the hell are you doing?
The brewing fight had gone from a brawl to a set of 3 duels. Hijikata threw me an angry look before turning to glare at Kazuma. It's not my fault! I didn't move. I stood as still as I could manage. Yeah, like that's gonna help. Maybe they won't notice me if I stand still. Maybe demons' visions are movement-based like T-Rexes and they can't see me if I don't move. I knew that if I leapt into the fight, I would do everyone, including myself, more harm than good. After all, what chance did I have against someone who could defeat Okito or Heisuke?
Don't worry, Chizuru.
His spear held down and at ready, he maneuvered himself between me and our attackers. I'm depending on you!
Moo, what is this? You trying to get in my way? Bad plan, pal.
As he spoke, I could see Shiranui loosen his gun in its holster. He finished by tossing a smug grin at Harada, who returned it in kind. Despite all of Harada's bravado, however, there was still too much distance between them, with the gun's advantage.
Huh, come on. It doesn't take a genius to figure out you're screwed here. No way you can close this distance before I can put one in ya.
Harada! Before I could finish, Harada moved. In a swift motion, he swept his foot across the ground, throwing up a small cloud of dust, and launching a small rock straight at Shiranui's gun. I hope that was accurate.
Try again, smartass. Thought you had me, huh? Huh, nice.
Shiranui dodged the rock, and in that moment where his gun wavered off its target, Harada charged. Ah, good strategy. And a lovely picture. They froze, mirror images of one another. Not exactly. Each with a weapon poised to deliver a killing blow. Oh, they're both so pretty. I could almost see their intensity rolling off of them in shimmering waves, like heat from a roaring furnace. Even their faces were mirrored, each with a playful grin, as if they were only friends having some fun.
That gun's not just for show, right? Why don't you pull the trigger and put me down? Huh, well, I don't want some chump to hear it go off and come spoil our fun.
Didn't he already fire once or twice anyway? I couldn't imagine how they could be smiling and laughing. If the spear tip moved even a fraction of an inch, or Shiranui's finger slipped on the trigger, that would be it. I stood frozen, waiting to see who would yield, or die, first. It was Shiranui who lowered his gun. Why?
Well, that was fun. Let's do this again when we've got a little more time, okay? Huh, sorry. I'm not in the habit of taking invitations from men.
Both men stepped back, their fight clearly finished. After all, he's taken. Though he doesn't know it yet.
Further fighting serves no purpose. We will do nothing more than attract unwanted attention.
His voice was calm, as deep and harsh as 2 boulders grinding together.
What? You talking to me? Come on, I know when to leave a party.
Kazuma looked at his companions momentarily, then nodded.
Yes, our suspicions have been confirmed. We've no need to stay. This time, we only came to say hello. Do you really believe we'll simply allow you to walk away? Then, call your men. You 3 may survive, but how many of your soldiers will be slaughtered before we escape? Would you spend their lives so easily?
There was no doubt that Kazuma and his companions were powerful. There was no edge of arrogance in his voice, only cold fact. They left silently, fading into the darkness, but as he did, Kazuma spoke to me one last time.
I will return for you, soon.
He was far out of arm's reach, but his words felt as if they brushed against my cheek, cold and threatening. A shiver ran up my spine.
Whoa, are you alright, Chizuru?
I took the hand Harada offered and pulled myself to my feet. Hijikata was still staring intently out into the darkness, but when he spoke, it was to me.
Kid, you got any idea why they were after you?
I hesitated. They had said I was one of them. Kazuma had invited me to go with him. Had he been telling the truth? I didn't know. I'm not sure. There was really nothing more I could say. So much had happened. My mind spun, full of bursting. Once the rest of the men returned, there was a meeting amongst the captains. The subject of that meeting was the 3 men who appeared at Nijo Castle, Chikage Kazuma, Kyujo Amagiri, and Kyo Shiranui. They had called themselves demons, and their previous encounters with the Shinsengumi suggested that they were involved somehow with the Satsuma and Choshu. Although it wasn't clear if the 3 men were members of any domain, the Satsuma and Choshu were the most vocal imperialist domains. What was clear was they, Kazuma, Amagiri, and Shiranui, were not to be taken lightly. There was another problem, however. Why had they come for me? Hijikata asked if I had any idea why they would have targeted me, but I was as desperate to know as he was. They'd called me one of them, and they'd known my last name. Kazuma had pointed out my kodachi, although I didn't understand what he'd said. I couldn't bring myself to tell Hijikata and the captains. What if they didn't believe me? I didn't believe me. My name is Chizuru Yukimura. I am the daughter of my father and my mother. I'm a normal girl, nothing out of the ordinary. Well, am I a descendant of Sanada Yukimura? My only memento of my mother, my kodachi, lay in my palm. I squeezed it tight. Who am I? June 1865. Now things are really heating up, though. I'm getting excited. Well, I've been enjoying it so far, but yeah, this game is actually pretty close to the anime. Well, okay, the anime is actually pretty close to the game, because I remember a lot of this from the anime, even though I haven't seen it in a while. I've only recently just been watching the prequel stuff. The compound was alive with noise and movement. I passed several soldiers in the halls, each one of them excited about something. What was going on? Hello?
This is unconscionable. Never in all my...
Ito, is something wrong? I hope so. Suffer!
Yes, I'd say everything is wrong. Why should I be made to bear my skin in the same room as those savages?
Ito's explanation was anything but. Is there something going on today? Ito did his best to collect himself, shakily adjusting his hair and clothing before he spoke.
I suppose Doctor the Kondo met during the Shogun's visit has come here. He's conducting physical examinations.
What, he can't have an examination in a private room? With a disdainful sniff, he glared pointedly across the hall toward the area he'd just left. The men were getting physical checkups, that much I knew. Given my particular situation, I'd been exempted by the captains, who had also given me special instructions to stay away.
That hairless monster! He demanded that I remove my clothes in front of everyone. When I refused, as any decent man would do, he attempted to remove them himself, by force!
Oh man, it's like a yaoi scene.
And the rest of them just stood there. What sort of uncultured savages are they?
They probably were laughing. They're probably all snickering. Savages seemed a bit strong. At any rate, perhaps I should go see what a physical entailed. I was a doctor's daughter, after all. Shouldn't I know then? What's this doctor's name?
Oh, I believe he called himself Ryojun Masamoto.
Ah, just the man I've been looking for. What? Wait, Dr. Masumoto? When I'd first come to Kyoto, my plan had been to try and find Dr. Masumoto. My father had told me that I could rely on the man if I ever needed anything. Unfortunately, he'd been away on business when I'd arrived, and after that... I'm going to go watch the physical exams. But I've been instructed not to go anywhere near. There was no time to waste.
Oh my, so you want to see those savages? What peculiar taste.
That's all right. Is this it? I could hear loud voices from inside. Oh! Oh. Woohoo! The scene froze me in place. Who are you showing off for, Nagakura?
Alright, next. At last, my turn! Check this out, Doctor. What do you think? You're looking at the amazing product of years of training.
Your body's fine, Shin. I think it's your head the doctor ought to be looking at.
What's that? You say you want me to beat the daylights out of you? You're fine, Shinpachi Nagakura. Move on. Next.
What? You didn't even listen to his heart or anything.
Whoa, hold on there, Doc. You gotta get a good look at this.
A fine physical specimen that he is.
No, you're quite fine. Healthy as a horse, and I've seen quite enough of you. Thank you.
Is he just totally ignoring him because he's annoyed now? Never mind his health, just get him out of here.
You're holding up the line, Shinpachi. Get moving, alright?
I'm just saying, I don't really think you've had time to fully examine... A medical examination is for finding problems, not showing off. Now move.
Oh, this is awesome. It wasn't difficult to see why Ito had been so desperate to escape. I couldn't imagine him as part of such a display.
You need to take better care of your digestive system. Here, take this after every meal. Looks like I'm out of medicine.
I was waiting outside when Masamoto stepped out of the room where he was conducting the examinations. Excuse me.
Yes?
He looked at me for a moment, his eyes narrowed in curiosity.
Well, I need to fetch some more medicine, so perhaps now is a good time for a break. Can you give me a hand?
Oh, yes, of course. What luck? Dr. Masamoto.
Ah, Doctor. Hello, Yukimura.
Kondo appeared just as I was preparing to introduce myself to the doctor.
Oh, I see you found her already. Yes, thanks to you.
What? I was utterly lost. Dr. Masamoto laid a gentle hand on my shoulder.
Chizuru, I came here to see you.
Oh, so it wasn't really for the physicals even.
Kondo told me that Kodo's daughter was staying with the Shinsengumi.
Oh, I see.
I knew Kodo and Matsumoto were acquaintances. So, I thought perhaps Matsumoto might be able to give us a clue as to his friend's whereabouts. I looked him up as soon as he returned to Kyoto.
The Shinsengumi had their own reason for wanting my father found, but Dr. Masamoto's appearance was still cause for joy. Thank you, both of you. They smiled. Dr. Matsumoto went on to explain that he had just barely missed me when he left for Edo as I came to Kyoto. He'd received all my letters, but once he finally returned, he had no idea where I'd gone, and consequently couldn't come find me. Kondo's mention of my presence had taken him quite by surprise.
I'm sorry that I missed you. You must have had quite a rough time of it. Is there anything you need?
No, I'm doing all right. So, Dr. Matsumoto, about my father. His face took on a grim cast, and before he even spoke, I knew what his response would be.
Unfortunately, I know no more about where Kodo might be than you do.
I see. The defeated tone in my voice surprised me. I suppose on some level, I had believed that Dr. Matsumoto would have some sort of miraculous revelation about my father. Foolish of me, of course, but that didn't make the truth any less devastating. Kondo simply nodded.
I hear you become involved with the treatment. You know what I mean, don't you? Kodo's experiments.
Yes, I knew what he meant. The experiments my father had conducted with some strange concoction that could make people go mad. Please, tell me about it. I want to know everything my father was doing. He nodded.
Kodo was working with the Shinsengumi under orders from the shogun to create what we called Furies.
Furies are humans with high demonic strength and speed, and phenomenal healing abilities. Furies? It was the first time I'd heard the word. The doctor paused for a moment to look at me, then continued.
The substance that transforms normal men into these furies is called the water of life. In China, they called it senten. In short, it grants immortality.
Furies? Water of life? It sounded more like something from a fairy tale than real life. But there was something in the tone of Dr. Matsumoto's voice that said he was telling the truth. I've already heard about how it makes you strong and hard to kill. But does it cause so much pain that it makes most people go crazy? And even if you've survived that, then even the smell of blood can make you go crazy again? Dr. Matsumoto nodded slowly, then pinched the bridge of his nose with thumb and forefinger. He looked very tired.
So, you know about that too?
Yes. They were human, but not human. Perhaps they were something entirely different now. I couldn't see how the water of life could ever be used for good. Even if it had healed Sanen's arm, he'd suffer greatly in the process. Why? It came out more of a moan than a question. My father would never want to ruin the life of another, but because of what he'd done, people had suffered. Some had even died. Why was my father doing this? But it wasn't just my father. I was sure no one involved had wanted such a terrible outcome.
Perhaps that is why Kodo left. His conscience would no longer allow him to continue. But the Water of Life was an opportunity given to us by the Shogun to help strengthen the Shinsengumi.
The doctor only shook his head.
It was an experiment, and it had failed. You should put it well behind you. I'm sure the Shogunate has abandoned it as well.
Kondo frowned, perhaps unhappy that Dr. Matsumoto would question the Shogunate's original decision.
You've seen what happens to the men it was tested on, Kono. It cannot be allowed to continue. The experiment is inhumane, and you know it.
Kondo gave a non-committal grunt and fell silent. I was sure Kondo knew just how dangerous it was to use the water of life, but the Shogunate had come to him with a request. Perhaps he was unable to refuse, even if he wanted to. Silence fell like a thick blanket. It had grown almost unbearable when...
An outsider has no right to object.
Sanen! He was especially pale, which seemed to be one of the consequences for being active during the day. Is it okay for you to be up right now?
Sanen, you look pale. Don't worry about me.
He bowed quickly, his mouth a compressed line, and turned to regard the doctor with a cool gaze.
We use this treatment effectively, and at our own discretion. It's dangerous and far too strong. We have continued Kodo's research. I am, as you can see, living proof, so to speak.
Sanen did indeed prove it was possible to drink the water of life and retain your sanity. It just wasn't easy.
Perhaps you're right, but one success hardly means you have unlocked its secrets. I respectfully disagree. With continued research and modification, we will have many more successes and fewer casualties. This isn't a matter for fewer casualties, it's a matter of casualties, period. It isn't worth the deaths of any more of your men. The men who have given their lives are the foundation of our work. I won't allow them to have died in vain. But... Alright, that's enough, from both of you. Why don't we discuss this some other time?
It was my private opinion that they were unlikely to agree, no matter what time they discussed the subject, but I felt it would be polite to keep that to myself.
Very well.
There seemed to be very little in the way of common ground between them, but I could see the merit in both their arguments. Likely, Kondo had as well, and had chosen to end things before it got unpleasant. Well, it had already started to get unpleasant. You're a little too late for that. But, yeah, we're gonna end this recording here. I don't know, I guess I might try one more recording tonight. That one went really horribly, and I have to edit the hell out of it. I don't know what my problem is, I just cannot read an entire sentence without screwing up tonight. Kinda like last night, too. I don't know, my tongue is just not functioning lately. Hopefully it will be soon. Well, you know what? I think what I'm gonna do, I am going to, because, obviously Hakuouki is a much longer game, so, and, you know, each route is going to be pretty long, so I really want to start The Amazing Shinsengumi as soon as it comes out too, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do The Amazing Shinsengumi games routes. I'll do those entirely at a time, like kind of intersperse them whenever I feel like it. You know, like I said, this channel's just for fun, so I'm going to be reading when I went for fun for this one, well, and for my sister. So it's going to depend a little bit on what she wants to. But anyway, to continue on Harada's route soon, I hope to see you there in my future videos, and I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye-bye, everybody.